With the very successful launch of the Yamaha CK series, today we look at the inspiration, the YC and the CP series that predated the CK, and we talk about what key features were taken from those to be put into the new CK series, and we're also going to listen to the original CP and YC models.
Hi, this is Ted with Alamo Music Center in downtown San Antonio, Texas.
I'm Patrick Marr. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. Make sure to check out our new website, alamopianogalleries.com, highlighting 9 of our stores around the country. You can come see which one's nearest to you, come say hi to one of our friendly staff, and talk all things pianos. We really would appreciate seeing you and would love to talk pianos with you. Well, today, Ted, we've looked at the CK series, pretty extensively. We looked at the 88, we looked at the 61. We talked about some of the differences between the two models. Really a fantastic instrument from Yamaha. But right up from the get-go, when you look up anything on these pianos, there's 2 other models that are referenced, or 2 other product lines that are referenced in the making of the CK series. And before we really just jump right into that, I know we want to start our video off with a piano fact. That's something that we love doing. And the piano fact today?
Portability.
Portability.
Delivery.
And so
Transport.
we were talking about, the weight differences of, a traditional stage instrument, like a staged piano, versus the portability of like the CK that's a lot more lightweight, not as sturdy of a case, but really for portability is key. But then we started talking about portability, and you think about the history of piano, and you think about when piano was really being manufactured from for fine arts, and then also getting into people's homes when you're looking at the 19th century, really kind of the start of the boom of the piano. There was no cars back then.
No, there really wasn't. The 19th century piano delivery was pure muscle, and most of it was horse muscle. Hauling the pianos, and I know that if they had to put one upstairs, a lot of times they'd winch it and make the horse do all the lifting. Oof. Or horses, I should say. But it's kind of fascinating because even Alamo Music Center, we're coming up on 100 years of being in business, and I don't think we've ever delivered a piano from horse and buggy. Now, I know that there's been a mule and a horse taken as trade before on a piano, way back when, but I don't think the story, it was always some kind of motorized vehicle.
And so you think about motorized vehicles, it's a fairly new thing to put something in a truck. Not fairly new, but there was a time pre-engine that the piano existed and thrived, and a lot of it was horse and buggy,
sure,
delivering uprights. And you wonder why there wasn't as many Grands sold back then to houses, and then you start thinking about logistics.
Well, yeah, too. And also remember, there is that, it was a promotional, advertisement, historical, documentary film short put together, and Mr. Yamaha delivering the very first reed organ that he made for the emperor, and they had to hand carry it across the jungle, up and down through, over rivers, streams, and everything, and there was a team of people that delivered it. But what's fascinating is the keyboards we're talking about today, in terms of portability, there's not just one keyboard. I can speak from experience. The day when you were in a band in the 70s back then, you had to bring all of those keyboards with you. It's not like you could just bring a keyboard that had all the sounds in it. So you had to have like a Rhodes or a Worley, some kind of acoustic replacement, an organ, a string machine, a synthesizer, a clavinet. All those sounds are all demonstrated on the keyboards that we're talking about today.
Yeah,
and in terms of portability, that's a trailer full of stuff.
And so the CK line is really kind of a very cool, all-inclusive, relatively inexpensive keyboard that offers a ton.
They hit it out of the park with that instrument.
And really, like the CP series, we'll talk about the CP series first, it has a rich history, and to your point of talking about Rhodes and Wurlitzers, there's a CP series right behind us. Yeah. So right behind us we have a CP70, which was
the acoustic grand.
It was an acoustic acoustic electric grand. And so the idea was making a piano portable enough to get to a stage and have an input so you can plug it into amplifier or plug it into the sound system, and then you're playing through an amplification system. And that same idea of transporting something to the stage to play is kind of the idea of a very recent product, the CP series, the CP88, the CP73, that are still available from Yamaha, but the CK series is borrowing a lot of the technology and a lot of the functionality of the CP to create some sort of a stage instrument. And so when you're on stage, when you're looking at these keyboards, what is important? You just talked about the trailer full of stuff that you had to bring before, but what else is important when you're getting an instrument that's ready for stage readiness?
Well, the most important thing is, assuming it's like what we're talking about today is going to be digital, is getting familiar with the face, the layout of the keyboard, and how it's put together, how it reads left to right and right to left, and also the same way that keyboards used to be set up. It would be the foundation of acoustic or electric piano, and then usually kind of pads and pads and strings off to the side, and then your solo instrument on top. And so like a lot of times they call a song, you'd have to sit there and mess with all your keyboards and get them hooked up. Whereas now it's all preset, and you can even take like on the CK and split it into 3 different spots and have different sets, so you don't have to have a separate keyboard. You just play this section, and this section, you have bunch of different sounds.
Yeah, and you know, being able to move on the go, to save, there's preset locations you save your voices, and then also just having it in front of you, not having to menu dive. I think that's something that's been identified as a need, and so you see that on the CK, you saw it on the CP series. You know, individual modules that you can kind of turn on and turn off at the press of a button. Hey, I want to kick on organ here. Just hit on. It's going to preset, but you can change and make certain changes with the knobs. There's a lot of functionality. You see it all the way up on Nord stuff. You see it on the MP series from Kawai. You see it on the CP series from Yamaha, and now the CK series does a great job. And they didn't stop with just the functionality of the modules. They actually have drawbars for the organ, and so the YC series from Yamaha kind of had that idea.
It's an entirely different instrument on the keyboard, and the YC is definitely made to be an organ replacement, a portable organ you can pick up, and it has the major settings in there: the Yamaha, the Farfisa, the Hammond, and then the Vox. All those setups are in there, and then it also has the drawbars, and the keys are different. The keys are blocked. The edge of the keys are like this,
and they're
so
semi-weighted.
Swipes. They're semi-weighted.
So that means it's like almost like a reverse weight, where the pressure to get back is so fast because of an organ. It's the traditional organ action.
And it is a funny feeling. I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't feel right playing acoustic piano or Fender Rhodes or Whirly sounds on that YC keyboard, because it is an organ keyboard. And when I did the demo, I did not use a sustain pedal, because I did not really want to get into playing those acoustic sounds. They're there if you need them. But the main function of the YC series was to bring a lot of organ to the fingertips of the player. There's the stop, it's the on-off for the Leslie effect, and then the fast and slow, and then you also have a modulation. It's got pitch control. And so it really, it puts the 2 layers where it has the 2 different keyboards, down in the lower section, the upper and the lower registers are separate on the one keyboard.
The manual,
on the manual, right? They have 2 separate manuals on the one keyboard. So it really is very much like playing, a 2-layered organ. And that's what the YC is for. Now, the idea behind the CP series was to put the organs in there, but also put in a great piano sound and put in a great digital sound, and then put in all the pads and the brass, and then, bass and all the different sounds, the synth sounds in there. And I really thought that at the time when that instrument came out, I thought it was one of the greatest things in the world. But then looking at the way the CK is laid out, a lot like the Nord, but they still have those organ,
the drawbars,
because that's real attractive.
And also
for the players.
There's one thing that on both the YC and the CP, and sometimes you see this on professional grade stage instruments, often you see it, there's no speaker monitor.
Right.
And so that was something that was identified in the CK line as, let's make an affordable, not as road proof, I would say, because the casing is not that steel chassis that they do with the CP line, but let's make something a little bit more lightweight. Let's add reference monitors. So they're speakers on the CK series. They're nothing crazy. It's a 2x6 watt speaker system. Really kind of just there if there's not a monitor for a player on stage, or if you're enjoying this at your house and like a studio situation. And it's really easy to turn on and off the speakers, but it's really convenient to have it there as a reference monitor because it's so often that you don't have the speakers, and it doesn't feel like the instrument is complete. And so the CK really kind of is trying to make a start to stop complete instrument that you could enjoy if you were a player at home. I really like the way that they took on the CP series, there was an effects module that you can punch in on individual layers. They kind of, and it was pretty limited. It was reverb and delay, and that was something global that could be used on any module. On the CK series, they expanded the different effects that you can use, and it is global, and it's also, you can do it per layer. And so, adding it's a really nice, it's a color thing. So it's like there's a blue, a green, and a yellow, and you can punch in, and every time you hit the different layer, the effects module changes colors as well. So hey, I'm working on the yellow, the second layer right now. So I'm working on, and the buttons
delay and reverb.
Yeah,
and chorus
and amps,
and something else.
And they have a bunch of cool effects, and it almost turns it into like as a guitarist too. It's like you get like the whole effects pedal thing right there, a full built-in effects pedal, and it makes the instrument, I would say, more versatile and also more of a creation machine.
Well, they also build in a lot of the sounds that on some of the other ones you had they were built in, but if you wanted something that had extra drive or distortion, and you can just at a touch add anything to any sound that you want, and always be able to go back to the original sound. The CP was kind of like that. It had some really great preset sounds that were like a driven amp with a dirty sound, or a dirty Rhodes, or a dirty whirly that had a lot of attack and bite. And that is so easy to access in and out and adjust on the CK series.
Yeah. So let's take a listen. We will take a listen to the CK series, but we'll also take a listen to the YC organs, and we'll listen to some of the CP sounds as well, kind of just comparing the different voices that you do hear out of these instruments. And then we'll come back around and talk about the weight difference, about the polyphony. We'll talk about some of the other key differences in this, but stick around.
Well, Patrick, I don't mean to be biased, but my favorite one is the CK because it's not just because it's the latest, greatest thing, but it also is very light, very compact. It'd be so easy to pick it up and go to a gig. A gig, whether you're playing just solo, like say piano and voice or Rhodes and voice, and it'd also be great to sit in and play in a band or a combo. Whereas the other two, I think, would be great to take if you're playing with other musicians.
Yeah.
Because I have a problem if I have a full keyboard, I kind of have to tell myself if I'm with other musicians to kind of stay in my lane. When you play by yourself, I feel limited on something if I don't have all 88 keys.
Yeah, and I, just the layout design. When looking at both of these or all three of them, the CK it just has some cool things that like you don't. I forgot that they have a filter, an envelope filter that you can mess with from a synthesizer viewpoint.
Standpoint.
And it's really cool because that makes all the synths in there super versatile because you're messing with what's going on with the oscillator. And so,
however, I do have one thing to say about the YC, and that is, if you're an organ player, you don't need 88 keys because they think of the instrument as different. They can get sound from whatever they're given. And I don't play like that. So, I mean, I admit that as a weakness. When someone says, you play a B3, yeah, I can hit, but I'm not a guy to jam on a B3. Those organ keys are really required to do the swipes, and that is a major part of getting all the accents and all the crescendos and decrescendos the way that a real player does, because if they're playing with one hand, the other hand is expressing. It's slowing down, stopping, speeding up the Leslie, adjusting the volume, modulation, changing the vibrato. It's always doing something because an organ has to speak from within itself, and it doesn't if you just hold the keys down. You have to make express.
Changes.
And those players are extremely talented in a way that any piano or keyboard player really doesn't. I mean, you're either an organ player or you're good at it or you're not. And I'm one of those that was just not.
Well, and so I think that's important to keep in mind when looking at the CK series. It's not, I would say it's not going to replace for high-end organ play for people who need that stage ready. Like I'm on tour with a band needing that. I don't think the CK fits that. I think it's more of a casual to intermediate musician that needs enough to get the job done, and it has a ton of capability, especially around that $1,500 price point.
So my point is, it's not just sounds alone that drive the musician. It's the keyboard, and a full-fledged, authentic gospel R&B blues player is not going to want to play
a CK61 or CK88.
Yeah, they're going to want organ keys.
And so I think there will always be a place for that next level up, that CP series, the MP series from Kawai, some of that heavy duty. It's much heavier, so like the weight differences alone. So on the CP73, so only 73 notes on that, that's as heavy as the CK88, which is the full range 88 keys with speakers on it. So just the casing alone on a CP73 is as heavy as the CK88. And then the the CK61 is super lightweight. It's like 12 pounds, and so really easy. We've had some guitar players who do keys on the side that have already picked that up because it's just a versatile, easy, lightweight thing to grab and say, hey, I can do some lead parts. I can do organ. I can do some synth stuff. And it's really easy. It's small. It's 61 keys. It has the full brain of the CK88, so it's capable to do a lot, and it's ultra portable at 12 pounds.
These are also quite, the YC, there's a lot of fans of the YC out there, mostly because of the organ player, but also remember that Hammond they still have that SK series that they put out, which is basically a digital organ. And it has the extra sounds in it, but it's not laid out, and it doesn't, it's set up to where you can have two manuals, but at the same time, it's not laid out with all the effects and everything as easy to use as it is on the CK, but it is 2 organ manual keyboards. And that means a lot to organ players.
Yeah, and so I don't think the CK is going to replace the YC, but it did take a whole bunch. It took the drawbars. It took a lot of the button control of, hey, I need to control my Leslie. I need to control this fast, slow. I need to control the effects on it and change the amps. And so it does a lot of things smart but it's not trying to say this is
a replacement.
It's not a replacement, and so really a cool instrument. And we've had already a ton of people reach out about the CK series, lots of excitement around it. So we really wanted to kind of make this video to hear the YC and to hear the CP, and kind of show what those keyboards are about in relation to the CK series. If you guys have owned a YC series, if you owned a CP series, maybe even an old vintage CP series like the one behind us, please leave comments. Let us know what you love about it. What has Yamaha done well with it? What are features that you wish they would change on it? But also, if you've owned the CK or if you've done some research on the CK or played one or owned one, leave comments. We really appreciate that. And I know a lot of people who are looking for that perfect instrument. A lot of insight is encouraged and that's sought out to get proper information. So thank you guys for watching. Again, this is Ted Barslew. I'm Patrick Marr here at Alamo Music, and we'll see you next time.